How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and welcome to the ABL Podcast, episode 57. Thank you for being here first exclusively on Patreon, then later on YouTube. As I always say, and as you most certainly know, without you, there is no me. Thank y'all for joining on this afternoon, morning, evening, night. Whenever you're listening to me, I really appreciate you for your support. It goes a very long way. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit different. It's not really going to be, hot topics of the week. I already spoke about the vape shop guy getting totally triggered and the GameStop transgender person totally having a conniption fit, going God Super Saiyan, just incredible heart mode, 100% and more. I won't talk about that. I'll talk about this year in the wrap up. So this is a 2018 wrap up. I just looked through some of my videos, or through all of my videos really from this year, and I saw some key moments really stood out to me, whether they were personally things that stood out to me or things that were just big in general all over the world, especially right here in the US of A. So the very first topic, the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things that happened this year is the whole Russia investigation, collusion, the Bob Mueller investigation, this whole thing that's been going on and the ensuing fallout that's come as a result. Now, we all know this has been going on since the beginning, since Trump was in the campaign, 2015, 2016. You got all kinds of stuff that's coming about. You got James Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, the list goes on, Andrew McCabe, all kind of corrupt people or people who appear to be corrupt in the FBI, doing all kind of things. People outside the FBI, the Christopher Steele dossier, which prompted James Comey, who was then the director of the FBI, to give the FISA warrant or to authorize it to spy on Trump. Now you got guys getting locked up for tax evasion. I mean, things that are old, like Paul Manafort, you're getting locked up for tax evasion or perjury or something silly like that. Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer. You got individuals getting locked up for really silly reasons. Things that are totally unrelated to the 2016 campaign and Russia. Through all of this, the media has made Russia into some kind of, I don't even know what to call it, some kind of pariah. They're xenophobic, really, because anytime you hear Russia, it's always all about a negative. Oh, the Russians did this, the Russians did that. Well, explain to me why the Russians, quote unquote, are so bad. What's the big deal? Why should I be afraid of Russians? I don't really understand. Well, I do kind of understand just from my point of view, from being in the know a little bit, doing a little bit of reading and research and understanding what the media is. They are so hateful against Russia because, number one, they're a top oil producing country. Okay, it's the same reason why they were trying to press Trump on the whole Jamal Khashoggi thing. It wasn't really about Jamal Khashoggi. It was more about Saudi Arabia. Okay, you want to press on them, put sanctions on them because they're an oil producing nation. And we want to get more of a market share in that world. That could be it. I'm not really sure. Or it could be for war. Who knows? But U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Russia are 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to oil production in no particular order. Depending upon who you ask, when you ask, it could be the U.S. in the lead, Saudi in the lead, who really knows? But either way it goes, those 3 nations are the top in the world as far as oil producing. So it's no surprise to me that now we got to pick a fight with Russia and also Saudi Arabia. I'm glad that Trump has been resisting. Thank God for Trump. Imagine if Hillary were in there. Hillary said from the beginning, before the 2016 campaign even started, that if she was to become the president, she would immediately invade Iran. Immediately. Yes, I said immediately with a G. That's how quickly she would do it. And of course, if she would invade Iran, Iraq would still be in play. Syria will still be in play. Afghanistan will still be in play. All these countries that we should not be in will still be in play. Plus, you would add Saudi and Russia to the list. You got Hillary Clinton making statements about Russia and Saudi and stuff like that now, when she's not even in office or in government at all. Imagine what she would do if she was to be in the actual presidency, if she was to be in that seat, in the Oval Office. She stood beside it many times. Imagine her in the actual seat. A scorn woman at that, who has a axe to grind and a point to prove against a lot of men. But that's a whole different story. And for now, I digress. The point here is that Russia, Saudi Arabia, they have been big time targets by the left. And in many ways, much of the mainstream media works side by side with the left. You got a lot of degrees of separation that are very thin. People are married to this person over here who's at CNN. Their wife is in the government some kind of way. There's a lot of little things like that that go on in Washington, D.C. You know, it's not really good. But to get back to the whole Russia thing, they're not finding anything. They're wasting a bunch of money. Bob Mueller is pretty much spinning his wheels, not really able to find anything that's going to stick on Donald Trump. They got all these arrests, indictments, whatever the case may be, convictions in many cases, but they've not found any smoking gun that links Trump to Russia in a malicious way. Okay. The only thing that they've been able to find is this whole thing about memes. The Internet Research Agency, IRA in Russia, they were putting out memes on Twitter and Facebook, and they're saying that the memes, check this out, they're saying that the memes that quote unquote Russia put out were enough to influence the 2016 election. They had Google come before Congress and testify about Russia. They said that Russia only bought like $4,600 in ads, $4,600. A GoFundMe raised $18 million for the wall that was started by a triple amputee veteran by the name of Brian Kolfage. So if a triple amputee veteran is able to raise $18 million for the wall, but the Russian Federation, the whole country of Russia, is only going to spend $4,600 on ads to quote unquote influence the election. I mean, what are we talking about here? That's no money at all. But we're spending years at this point, because it's been going on for a long time, at least 2016, probably 2015. We're spending years talking about the Russia collusion, Russiagate, how bad Vladimir Putin is, how bad the Russian Federation is. We're talking about all these things when they're spending just almost no money on ads, and the ads they do run, we're talking about memes. Really? So are you going to put me in the gulag and tell me to make big rocks into little rocks over the memes on my Instagram page? You know, I went viral this year. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And I had on the MAGA hat in the picture. So is that a way to influence the election? Are you going to arrest me for going viral? This is really silly. The standards they put on Russia are not seen with any other nation that I've been able to see. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. I've not seen any other nation get treated this way. This whole thing about Russia is going to eventually just die down. Bob Mueller's going to say, okay, I'm waving the red flag. Bob Mueller's going to say, okay, I'm waving the white flag. I don't have anything. I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. This is something that is not a fruitful endeavor. Why must I continue to go through it? So I don't have a whole lot to say more about that. I just want to say that the Russia collusion kerfuffle is much ado about nothing. They found nothing. They will find nothing. And the only things they do have are based on lies. The dossier, the fan fiction talking about, oh, Donald Trump wanted to have some Russian hookers pee on the bed in Russia because Michelle and Barack Obama will sleep on the bed eventually. I'm like, what are we talking about here? That is so silly. But that was enough to get a FISA warrant cleared and to spy on the Trump campaign. Even with all the spying, even with all the snitches or whatever, they still have not been able to find any smoking gun on Donald Trump. Talking about tax returns, all that kind of stuff. Nothing is there. All they've been able to do is label Russia as a bad actor. And anybody that supports them, especially on social media, they get labeled a bad actor as well. I've been accused of being a Russian troll on Twitter because I'm conservative. It's gotten really, really out of hand. And hopefully this whole thing will come to an end sooner than later. But let's get to my next big story of 2018, and that is the Supreme Court nominations and confirmations. We're talking about Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. Neil Gorsuch, there was a little bit of resistance against that. They had to do the nuclear option to end the debate over it and then have the vote. He got in. People were talking about, I think that was Roe v. Wade and stuff like that. Talking about, well, if you elect him, you voted to kill me. I mean, really crazy, out of this world kind of stuff. Same thing with Brett Kavanaugh. I think there was more heat generated towards Brett Kavanaugh than Neil Gorsuch. And the reason why I think that's so is because now we're seeing Trump really cement his legacy. He's already putting in 2 Supreme Court justices. There's going to be more. He may put up to 5 new justices in there before his terms are over. Terms with an S, because he will be reelected in 2020. So you already got 2. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 85 or 86 years old, not in the best health. How long is she going to actually survive? Or how long will she be able to actually be in the Supreme Court as a justice? I know it's a lifetime position, but at a certain point, you can't live forever. How long is she going to be there? How long is she going to be of sound mind to be able to do the job? I mean, we got 6 more years. By the time Trump will be done with a second term, she'll be in her 90s. I think he'd be able to replace her. Stephen Breyer, another one. He's not a spring chicken himself. I think he's about 80 or close to it. He may retire or pass away. Maybe even Clarence Thomas. He's not as old as they are. He's young compared to them, but old when you're talking about the general population. He's like 70. So he may retire soon. He may say, okay, I'm done. I've given a lot of my life to the Supreme Court, to the government in general. I'm going to go ahead and fall back and retire. So you may have up to 5 new justices in the Supreme Court before Trump is done. So people are getting nervous, just saying, okay, he's ramping up. He's starting to gather steam. We can't have this happen. So we need to just pump the brakes and put something out there about Brett Kavanaugh. Or we got the whole Me Too thing going, right? All right, that should be enough for us to say that Brett Kavanaugh is a predator. He molested little girls, raped women, and stuff like that. The stories are coming out of left field, talking about, he raped my wife on the boat. The whole thing with Christine Blasey Ford didn't make a lick of sense. The testimony that she delivered in front of Congress was really ridiculous. Her facial expressions, the whole 9 yards. To see him on stage was really kind of heartbreaking. Because I'm like, okay, this guy really didn't do anything to deserve this. This is not his fault. He's not the guy that did anything to anybody. He's not that guy. He had 100 women come out on stage and support him. I've never seen anything like that before. You'll see an accusation that gets lobbed out there. It's usually the guy defending himself, maybe his wife or something like that at the most. Maybe a family member. This guy had 100 women on stage, live in full color, in person, defending this man, Brett Kavanaugh. So shout out to them. You guys did a fantastic job. But for now, I'll move on. There was so much evidence Brett Kavanaugh had in his favor. People were trying to say that it was wrong for him to have the evidence. People were saying, because he had the calendars. Remember the calendars? They were collectible items, but also kind of like a diary. Also kind of a check of whatever you got going on. A schedule, like a itinerary. So he's a very busy guy in high school, college, or whatever. He may have sports practice, study sessions, maybe church, all these things, going to gatherings with his friends. All that was on his calendar. He was able to document it all. And he had dates, the whole 9 yards, going all the way back to like the 70s. People were saying it was weird. Why do you keep a diary? Why you have calendars from way back then? They were trying to say that he was too organized and too prepared for this. But as we all know, and if I can't speak for you, I know that you can never be too prepared. You always got to be ready to be ready. if you come across a situation that needs you to be prepared, you'll be glad you are prepared rather than trying to be too cool for school and saying, I don't want to be that prepared. I'm going to just do whatever I want to do. And then you're in a bad situation because you were not prepared enough. So Brett Kavanaugh, God bless him. He had all of his ducks in a row. All his I's were dotted and T's were crossed. So Christine Blasey Ford and all these other women couldn't say anything against him. They had to pretty much just throw up their hands and say, okay, you got it. So after a long, contentious, brutal, hateful, and spiteful battle, Brett Kavanaugh was finally confirmed as the next Supreme Court justice. That was a really big event, and I think it took a lot out of the whole quote-unquote Me Too movement, because now people are starting to see that this so-called movement is being abused to attack regular, everyday people that aren't involved with any kind of sexual assault, no kind of workplace harassment or anything like that. That does happen in the case of Harvey Weinstein. I think he was running some kind of casting couch. I was like, okay, you want to get in the movie? Well, go in the room, take off your clothes, then we'll figure out what's going to happen next. Bill Cosby, on the other hand, went to jail this year, and I'm glad, finally. This guy was the opposite of Brett Kavanaugh. You know, Brett Kavanaugh had a stage full of women come out and defend him and say he would never do that. I was his best friend during high school, this, that, and the third. People that actually know him, not just random people on the street, people that he actually knows, his real friends, his real family, people that he has known for most of his life. All of his adult life in most cases, or in some cases. You had girls, women, that is, that came from high school that he has known all throughout this time, and women from college. Bill Cosby, on the other hand, had a stage full of women that were against him, all sharing the same story about being drugged, raped, with the same MO that he does. Bill Cosby will put some of that stuff in the Cosby Show. There was one episode, if you notice, where he had his adult children there. I think it might have been Sandra and Vanessa, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. But he had the kids there with their significant others. And for some reason, they were mad at each other, kind of like really frowning and pouting. And he put some kind of quote-unquote sauce on some ribs, spread it on there on the grill. And then next thing you know, they, are really affectionate with each other, hugging, touching, kissing. And he's telling his wife that, hey, I put some little stuff on the ribs to get them all, quote unquote, huggy buggy. A different scene, he spiked a drink. I forget what he put in a drink, but he spiked the drink. On TV, he said that he uses this thing called Spanish Fly. And Spanish Fly, you put a little bit of it, a pin needle tip worth of it in the drink, and then the girl's all yours. He said that on TV. There's numerous occasions of Bill Cosby acting out in public, on television, in the show. And then the whole rape case just really confirmed a lot of what I've already have suspected for a very long time. So while Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch were able to get through, Brett Kavanaugh was able to break down the whole Me Too movement. I think Bill Cosby, in many ways, strengthened the Me Too movement, and at the same time, destroyed his own legacy. We saw guys that were dependent upon those royalty checks, like Jeffrey Owens, one of the Cosby Show actors, get the bag in groceries because now the money's gone. What am I going to do? As a Harvard graduate, but that's a whole different story. So that was a really big thing. Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and the whole Me Too movement as it relates to that. I think the Me Too movement is going to eventually start to die down. People are really starting to see through it. Although Bill Cosby strengthened it, I think Brett Kavanaugh weakened it more than Bill Cosby strengthened it. So it was a net loss, in my opinion, for that whole movement. It's not okay to accuse a man of something with zero evidence, no witnesses, no statements, or flawed witnesses. It's just not right. Figure out what's going on, investigate more into it, and then make your mind up. But I'll get to my next topic here, and that is Trump reforming food stamps, welfare, all that good stuff. Now, these are really big videos on my channel, and you can just search Anthony Brown Logan food stamps, welfare, etc. You'll see it. I think one video has like 500,000 views on it, or close to it, like 400,000 or more. A lot of views on that particular video. The issue with food stamps, welfare, or whatever is that in the case of food stamps, you have 40 million people that are on it right now. Okay. And that includes kind of a revolving door, those that are getting off of it and those that are coming on it. Currently, right now, you got about 40 million Americans that are on it. So when you're talking about cutting them or doing any kind of changes, it raises the alarm and suspicions. They're like, wait a minute, I need these food stamps. You can't reduce my allotment. You can't reduce my ration. But the first video I put out, or probably the biggest video that I have on a topic this year, 2018, was about the harvest box. Remember that? Trump was saying, okay, we're going to cut the SNAP benefits in half as far as your voucher, cash, or whatever to go out and get whatever you want to get. We're going to replace them with food boxes. And to me, it makes perfect sense. Why? Because a lot of times you have people that are going out there with the food stamp card and buying total junk. Total junk. People are saying, oh, poverty causes obesity. No, it doesn't. When you go to third world countries, you don't see people obese. You see starving people, because when you're truly in poverty, you don't have food to eat. You cannot afford food. That's real poverty, not being 800 pounds. You have plenty of money here in the U.S. What's going on is that people that don't work or are quote unquote poor, they're on food stamps. They will go to the grocery store and buy up pure junk. DiGiorno's pizza, popsicles, cookies, cakes, pies, just straight sugar, just processed garbage. If they're buying meat, fish, poultry, they're buying it from, Chinese farms. I mean, just really low quality food. Unnecessarily, you can get good food. Like, I, for a long time, had no money. I was broke. I don't want to say flat broke, but I was close to it. And what I was doing was spending like no more than $30 a week on food, maybe like 35 or 40 at the most. If I had $40, that was like, I was balling. And I'm 6'3", over 200 pounds. I went down to like 185 during that time, but that's a whole different story. The point is that I was able to keep rocking and keep rolling off of like chicken breast, broccoli, black beans, those kind of things. I had many a chicken breast and broccoli night. It may not be glamorous. It may not be fancy. It may not be, super tasty and sugary. It didn't taste bad, but it wasn't like you're eating a cake or something like that every night. But it sustained me. It was healthy, and it allowed me to keep myself rolling. People that are out here having their cart full. You can't tell me that you are in poverty with a cart completely full to the brim. I've never seen a cart totally full to the brim outside of watching others do it. I never seen anybody in my family do that. Nobody. Definitely not my mom or nobody. I've never seen anybody do that. I'm going to the store with a handful of items. I'm going there with no cart. Meanwhile, you got guys and girls with a cart completely lit up. Now, I understand if you got like 20 kids, but that ain't usually the case. What's happening is they're probably buying stuff to sell, having a quote unquote selling party, but that's a whole different story. Or they're just buying a bunch of junk because they like it. That's usually what it is. You see a giant person with a cart full of garbage. Cut half of that out and then give them the harvest box. They're going to want to eat. So now, okay, here's some chicken breast. Here's some broccoli. Here's some here's some baked beans. Try that rather than the popsicles, ding dongs, ho-hos, bad processed DiGiorno pizza, Tombstone pizza. Try this in the food box and see how that goes. Because we always say we need to improve the health of people that are in these communities that are low income, poverty, or whatever. I don't see a better way to do it than to give them the food that they need. It's like Weight Watchers, right? They come to your crib, give you the food that you need, or you go get it, whatever it is planned. You can just go get that. Look at the Harvest food box like military rations. Have it in the cut, in the freezer, refrigerator, or whatever. Pull it out, cook it when you need it. That's the way it should be. Now, people are saying, oh, well, people can't cook. They don't have time. Well, how are you going to eat if you can't cook? If you're poor and you can't cook, how are you really going to eat? What you going to eat? Just cans of beans? You're going to eat stuff you can put in the microwave? And that's still kind of like cooking in a sense. You still got to prepare it. So if you can microwave a thing and watch it and stir it and flip the bowl and all that good stuff, why not just take that same skill set, quote unquote, to actually cooking? It don't take that much time. I've never seen a project building where the project apartments did not have any kind of stove. You can cook regardless of where you at. So there's no excuse for that. I'm just glad that he's doing something about that, because it's really a serious issue that has to get addressed. Let's talk about the Black Panther. I know it's kind of a crazy transition, but nah. Let's talk about Black Panther. This movie, in my opinion, is now the new Roots. And I'll explain why I say that. First of all, did you know that the Roots was plagiarized by another person years earlier? And the plagiarism came from a book called The African. There was a settlement in the 70s from Alex Haley to the guy that wrote The African. And the terms are kind of not known to me. I think they may be undisclosed. But in the acknowledgement of wrongdoing, Alex Haley said that he apologized for parts of The African to make their way into the Roots. Because remember, the Roots were books, or at least one book, and then it was made into a movie, a series of movies, which account really for one movie. I've known for a very long time that the Roots was fiction. It wasn't real. Think about it. You mean to tell me that a bunch of white guys can just pull up to the coast of Africa, and not in the warship, in a trade ship, and just run in the jungle, not even knowing where they're going, with a bunch of nets, and they're going to catch you? Think about that. I mean, if right now you're walking down the street, minding your business, here comes a guy with a net and throws on you, you're going to be like, oh, I can't get out. I'm stuck. You're a human being. You're not going to let a net catch you. And if it does land on you, you can get out of a net. You're not a fish or a deer or something like that. You have a brain to be able to understand how to maneuver out of situations like that. So the book is totally full of lies, it's bogus, and I've known that from the beginning. So the whole thing about plagiarism did not surprise me, but I'm getting way off topic. I just want to talk about Black Panther. This movie is a new Roots. Roots was fiction, so was Black Panther, but I think the newer generation really identifies more with Black Panther rather than Roots, which in one way is kind of good, because the whole concept of Roots was you're a victim, you got raped, you got killed, you got beat. That's the whole thing about Roots. It's a rough movie to watch, really rough. And the new version is even worse. So rather than having that be like the standard for quote unquote black movies, or a big one you quote all the time, let's go to Wakanda. Let's be, living our best life in Africa with all kind of gadgets and machinery and natural resources, all this, that, and the third. You're having guys do live streams and panels, probably even writing books about Wakanda. If it were real, Wakanda is real. Going back to Africa, building Wakanda again, make Wakanda great again. It's taking the whole world by storm. Now, I will admit that the movie was pretty good. I was not disappointed by the movie. I enjoyed the movie, because my thing is, I'm an artist first and foremost. I know the political thing, that seems to be where I'm at right now, and I really enjoy it. I love what I do, but first and foremost, I'm an artist. I'm not a rapper or anything like that. I'm a visual, I'm the kind of guy that will draw, paint, all that. So I understand how to separate how quality and good and pleasing the movie is from the SJW narrative that's provided by the creators of the movie itself, and also other normies on social media, television, wherever they may be. I don't care about them, not even the creator. I care more about just having a good piece of art that I can sink my teeth into, like like Black Panther. It was really good. The acting, I'm not going to say they were Academy Award winners, Oscars, whatever it is, but what I will say is that it was really enjoyable. Just like Venom. Venom is a movie that people say they didn't like. It was, I think a lot of that just comes from people that were fans of the lore and the actual comic books, or those who, I don't know. I really don't know what the reason is, but not liking Venom. But Venom was a good movie. The soundtrack was good. The Eminem song at the end was fantastic. It was funny. It was a lot of different things. I really had a good time watching the movie. But getting back to Black Panther, you're seeing all kind of people out here with face paint on, talking about Wakanda forever. I mean, I don't want to run nobody. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to judge you running your parade, but it just kind of seems weird to me. I'm not one of these guys that's going to beat my chest for a fictional place called Wakanda, right? I think we're going to talk about Wakanda for a long time. I would not be surprised if you had professors in colleges right now, today, as I'm speaking, that are coming up with a plan to talk about Wakanda and Black Panther and going back to Africa for their actual lecture after the new year is up. I will not be surprised. Schools have become much more politically driven. That wasn't the case when I was young. When I was in high school, it wasn't this big political thing going on. College, same way. Everybody just pretty much just had fun, went to class, and that was pretty much it. It wasn't this whole big political movement going on. But again, that goes back to the media. This is what they push out there, which is why this is what they get back. But I move on to my next topic, and that is a personal one to me, which is the Turning Point USA Phoenix Summit and also YBLS. Man, these events really, it's been part of a very good year for me. 2018 was fantastic. I got a beautiful young lady. I got, a new crib. I'm in a fantastic location. Moved from my hometown. I'm just feeling great. And then on top of that, I have Turning Point USA contacting me. Well, really, it was Brandon Tatum. That's the main guy that was my point. And he was trying to get a bunch of us together, black conservatives, to come out to Phoenix and have a retreat to discuss ways to push the movement forward. When I say the movement, I'm talking about a few things, but most importantly, the conservative movement, especially within the black community, because it's seen as kind of taboo. Well, not kind of taboo. It's seen as very taboo to be conservative and black simultaneously. It's like you got to pick one. It's also kind of taboo to be conservative in general. It doesn't matter what color you are. You can be black, white, Puerto Rican, candy stripe, but especially for black folks. So Brandon Tatum's goal was to get us all to Phoenix and get us on one accord, to exchange ideas, information, and to be introduced to the Turning Point USA squad. Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, a lot of the guys behind the scenes, everybody. And they're all great people. I hear a lot of negative things about them, but I don't see that. All I see is positivity. All I see are good people. That's all I really care about. But to get back to how it affected me, the retreat was amazing. We were in Arizona. First time there in Phoenix. It was super hot. Met so many great people that I think I'll be talking to for the rest of my life. Seriously. Lifelong friends. Lifelong connections made in Phoenix just over a very short period of time. Why? We have so much in common. When you meet people, you never know who you're going to connect with because you don't know what their particular interests are. You don't know about them personally, their personality, but we all have so much in common. We're all YouTubers, content creators. We're all conservative. We're all black. We've all experienced the exact same things. So when I talk about, being a call a cool Uncle Tom sellout, have your family scream on you and stuff like that. When I say these things sometimes to people that are not black or they're not a quote unquote minority, they don't really understand it. They can empathize with it, but they don't really truly understand it because they've not experienced it. But when I talk to a black person that's conservative about these things, it's instant. We have had the experience before. It's nothing new. This is what we go through all the time. So it was really pleasant to come across all of them in one place. You have lifelong connections and friends because you got so much in common. Then it came to YBLS. That's a Young Black Leadership Summit. This was in Washington, D.C. at the end of October of this year, right before midterms. This was a fantastic event. We went to the White House. You had 400 Black conservatives from all over the nation coming through. You had guys driving. You had all kind of stuff that was going on. It was really great. I had a time of my life. Met so many great people. It was really amazing. And thank you to everybody that was out there that came up to me, took a picture. You guys, I don't know how that affected you, but it affected me a lot. It really just, I'm going to carry that with me. And these things do so much, not only for the world and for the country, because Blexit, which was introduced at the event by Candace Owens, it's her movement. Not only that, to just spread the word that you could be conservative and black or whatever minority you are. It's not really a big deal. You can do that. But beyond that, it's just how it motivated me to keep on going, because sometimes you get into a weird place in your mind where you're thinking, okay, what I'm doing is kind of off or not. It's not really going anywhere. It won't really do what I want it to do. But then you go to YBLS and you meet people, and then they tell you their story about how things are going bad in their life. They had a bad family, but they watched me for kind of a safe space. They can relate to me. They emulate me. They want to be like me. Now I got to keep going, because I got to do it not only for myself, but for others that are around me and others that watch me from afar. I got to do it for them. So I want to do it because I feel like it's a moral obligation. You know, I don't have to, but I want to. So these events, I feel like, changed a lot of lives, and I hope that it's going to impact the country in a very positive way. 2020, we got that coming up. Hopefully we can get more of the black vote to Trump, more of the quote unquote minority vote to Trump, and keep whoever is the opposing side out of the conversation. But to get to my next topic, the next hot story of the year, and that was, the Starbucks incident. Oh, man, Starbucks, good grief. Remember that whole thing? You had these two guys that got arrested. I think it was in Philadelphia in Starbucks because they didn't want to leave. I forgot that was this year. That was really crazy. This would be a brief topic. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole here. But it started this whole conversation about if Starbucks is open to the public, must their restrooms also be so? You know, because you could come in there and just hang out for a while, but at a certain point, you can't just be in there chilling, doing nothing. You know, you may be in a high traffic area. If you're in there hanging out, doing nothing, then what's going on? You might have bums that do that. People that are homeless, they might come in there, hang out, buy nothing, just to kind of get shelter from the outside. I mean, you never know who you're dealing with. These guys were not bums. I think they were real estate advisors or something like that. They were preparing for a meeting that they were going to have in the Starbucks. I think the guy actually came and was defending them, but they just were refusing to just cooperate. To back up a little bit, if you forgot what happened or if you didn't catch this video, you had two black guys that were in the Starbucks in Philadelphia just hanging out, chilling. They hadn't bought anything. They're just doing nothing. They get approached and they're asked to buy something in order to stay. They could have bought $1 cookie, a plain coffee, $2, whatever, how much it costs. If you're in real estate, you got a little bit of money. You got $5 in your pocket you could spend. They refused. They're like, well, I ain't gonna do nothing. I don't want to buy nothing. Then they got to the point where the police were called and they were escorted out. It was really their fault, but then it created this whole thing about, you know, being emotionally sensitive and training. And they shut down Starbucks across the nation for re-education training. It sounds kind of commie to me, but I digress. They closed mostly all the Starbucks in the whole nation to train their employees better. Now you got guys going in there talking about, give me a free Starbucks coffee because you're racist, I'm black, I need it, is that and the third. Then you got open bathrooms. That's dangerous because you got junkies in there banging needles. They didn't say everybody who come in there is going to be a junkie. I'm just saying, if you have an open bathroom in a public place, that's easy for junkies to go in there and do whatever they want to do. When I go to downtown Chattanooga, where I live now, there is I guess it's like a trolley station right in downtown, out in public, open. There's no gate or doors on the actual trolley station because you got to have a big thing for 2 trolleys to fit in there comfortably, plus people and concession stands and all kind of stuff. Stairs that go up to the garage above the station, the parking garage. You have bathrooms in there as well that are public, but at a certain point at night, they get chained up. Okay, you have a gate and a chain. So it's like a metal gate that you can't penetrate and a chain on top of the gate. So you really have no way of being able to break it. If you try to go in there and pry it out with some kind of machinery, you still got to break through the chain. So they're not playing at all with the security of the bathrooms. So if the city, which is very liberal, by the way, downtown especially, chains up their bathrooms, then why would Starbucks just allow any old Tom, Dick, and Harry to come in there with no code, with not buying anything? You're inviting the junkies to come there. They want to sometimes go to a clean spot to bang their needles. Why not go to a Starbucks? If it's open, I'll just do that. So that was a really big story. I'm not really sure what their policy is right now as far as bathrooms are concerned, but it changed a lot. It changed a lot about the whole company. And now you're seeing other companies kind of get this pressure on the back. And a lot of it was driven by social media. Oh, social media played a big part in 2018 for 100% sure, 100% certain. Absolutely. You know, people on their phones getting triggered all the time and everything has really caused a lot of turmoil, a lot of strife, a lot of grief, and just a lot of bad vibes overall. But at the same time, it spread a lot of positivity. I think, in my opinion, the information age has spread much more positive information than negative as it relates to what is actually taken in and utilized by the people. However, there's more overall information in general, so it could be kind of an overwhelming thing to get bombarded with constant information, and it could be hard to tell what's positive and what's negative. But I'll get to my next topic here, and that is about Dennis Rodman being vindicated. Remember that. Remember when Dennis Rodman was going to North Korea, meeting with Kim Jong-un, talking about this is my friend, is that and the third. People were saying, are you going to get killed in there? You're going to go to the gulag? How are you going to befriend Kim Jong-un? All this, that, and the third. He was vindicated when Trump was able to meet with Kim Jong-un. Matter of fact, I don't know if it was Trump at first. I don't know if it was Trump. I think it was somebody else. It might have been Mike Pompeo or somebody like that. Then it was Trump in Singapore. Dennis Rodman was vindicated because he was talking about, having peace talks. Remember when Obama was in office, Rodman was going over there and he was saying all that Kim Jong-un that is, wants Obama to do is to call him. Let's have a conversation. When Trump comes into office, you having this big escalation of words and scare tactics, all kind of stuff coming from Kim Jong-un. But Trump gets into diplomat mode, negotiator mode. All of a sudden, it's all gone. No more nukes coming to Guam. No more nuclear testing. All that is coming to an end. Now we're talking about reunification possibly. You got Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in from South Korea going to the DMZ and shaking hands. I think you got Moon Jae-in coming into North Korea and Kim Jong-un going into South Korea. Really big things you did not see under one King Obama. Also, you got Donald Trump taking away troops from Syria, Afghanistan, trying to end foreign wars and not start anymore. This is what happens when you hear people out, when you don't just ignore them and say, oh, you know what you're talking about. Dennis Rodman was ignored. He was clowned on. He was ridiculed. All this, that, and the third. But then he's vindicated when Trump actualizes what Rodman wanted Obama to do, but never did do. Just like there was a petition to get Alice Marie Johnson out of jail when Barack Obama was in office. It didn't happen. But here comes Donald Trump. All of a sudden, she's free. Kim Kardashian visits the White House and says, hey, here's what I want. 1 week later, it was done. Trump is the kind of guy that listens to people. That's what you want, right? The media will tell you otherwise. They'll say, oh, Trump was coerced into doing something. He was goaded into it. He was shamed into it. What's wrong with listening to people, hearing what they got to say, and then acting accordingly? I don't see anything wrong with that at all. But to get to my next point, the Destiny debates. This was a pretty big moment this year. Really, really big. A lot of quotables from it. The whole KKK thing, the toys and food. You know, people just couldn't get over that comment. I was shocked when I heard it from, I think my dad told me, and it was something that Granny had told him, his mom. But it's the truth. And, you know, to back up a little bit, I said that the KKK would hand out toys and food to the black community during Christmas. And one other holiday, I forget what it was, might have been the 4th of July. You know, the reason why I said that is because the KKK really is overblown. They were nowhere near as bad as what's going on right now in the black community. I think within the whole 89 years the KKK was active lynching people, you heard about 3,700 lynchings that happened as a result. Black on black crime defeats that mark almost every 6 months. So every year you're doubling up what the KKK did in their whole, you know, process and their whole existence, you know, and they also lynch whites as well, white conservatives and black conservatives. I think you're seeing the resurgence of that with the Antifa people. And I also think they're kind of like a nothing burger. I'm not really worried about them at all. They are not a big threat. Black on black violence is a big threat. Okay. I'll speak about both and I say that they're both abhorrent, obviously. The specter of racial violence and also intra-racial violence. But I see which one is worse. And that was the whole point behind me bringing that up. But Destiny, I don't know. He's a weird kind of person. The debates sometimes would go well and sometimes they would not go well. We would get into weird arguments talking about things that had nothing to do with anything. I think the last time I spoke to him on one of his streams, we did not publish that video. Not one of us did. And it was for good reason because he was talking about things that had nothing to do with anything. He was talking about something. I forgot what it was. But the reason why I was there was to discuss racial issues and political stuff, not what he was talking about. It was almost like he was talking about the moon landing or how much cow farts, you know, pollute the atmosphere or something. Like it wasn't even anything that was kind of concrete I can lay my finger on. It was a hypothetical situation that was fantasy. So I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? Let's talk about what really matters. He was like, oh, you can't follow hypothetical. It was like, no, I can follow hypotheticals, but why am I going to do that right now when I'm coming here to talk about something very specific? Let's move on. It was really weird. And he would often like double talk. He's kind of a hypocrite. He'll say one thing about himself and say a different thing about you. He has a different standard for himself. Here's an example of what I mean by that. The whole ancestry argument. I was saying that it doesn't really matter, you know, where my quote unquote ancestors came from. I'm an American. I'm from West Virginia. That's where I was born. I was raised in Virginia, Hampton Roads. That's where I'm from. I'm not from Africa. Neither is my grandma or my great grandma or my great great grandma. We're Americans. This is our country. I don't care about, you know, my African ancestry. I'm an American now. If you ask most Africans where are they from, they'll say, oh, I'm from Maryland. I'm from Virginia. I'm from Florida. That's where they're from now. They're not going to say, oh, I'm from, you know, South Africa. Usually they won't say that. Usually they'll say where they are at right now. Why would I talk about knowing my quote unquote African ancestry when I've been here I was born here, number one, and my grandma and everybody else is from here as well. He was saying that most individuals in the USA want to know their ancestry and that blacks were at a disadvantage because we don't know generally. But then I asked him, hey, where did your mom come from before Cuba? Because I know she's not a Taino or nothing like that. You're obviously European, so you're just a Cuban European. Okay? And he's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so if you don't know and you don't care, you say he doesn't care either, then why is it so important for me to know and care about my own ancestry? He was like beating around the bush, not really able to answer it. It was crazy to see this white liberal guy try to explain to a black person what he should and should not think about politics as it relates to the black community. It was really weird. He was behaving as if he knew more than me. He knows what he believes from what he reads on the internet and from a few select books, if that, but he does not have the firsthand experience plus that information, because I got all the same information, but I also have firsthand experience. See, it's one thing to read about flying a plane and all of what goes into it. Once you get in that cockpit, it's a whole different ball game. You have the basics of what it takes to fly the plane, but once you get into the simulator or into the actual air, things change, which is why I was trying to express to him that, hey, I am the black community for this conversation. I represent them here in this conversation because I'm black. I grew up in a so-called black community. I can explain this whole thing better than you can because all you know is what you can read online usually, and maybe about a book or two you read, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, the debates were really interesting. When I went to get my car, I have a new car outside because my lease was up. I had to get another one. But when I went to get my new lease, the guy that was actually the finance person recognized me, and he said that he likes my Destiny debates. So shout out to you, man, if you're watching. I really appreciate you for your support and listening to those debates. They have gotten further than I thought they would actually be. So I think I'll leave that there and get to my next topic, which is Trump derangement syndrome running amok. Matter of fact, this would be the way I end it because I feel like a lot of the stories from this year involve some level of Trump derangement syndrome. The biggest example of this was the guy that was a Nevada professor, a professor emeritus, meaning he was retired and would teach occasionally, I guess. He shot himself to protest Trump. You know, he didn't die or anything like that. He shot himself in the arm, and you know, they had like a jailhouse interview with him because he got locked up for that because I think he was on campus when he did it. So if you're on campus with a pistol shooting yourself, no, you can't do that. It's like a school shooting, really. So he was in jail. They did a jailhouse interview with him, and he was tight-lipped, not trying to say anything. It's like, wait a minute, where was that big bad guy that was out there busting them guns, you know, and shooting your own self to protest Trump? Where was that guy at? Oh, now you want to talk to your lawyer? Okay, but I'll move on. This guy is a nut, but was not alone. I put out 2 videos recently as of this recording. This is the 30th of December, 2018. I put out 2 videos recently. One was of a guy in a vape store and 2 customers. The one customer, black guy, just standing there minding his own business, waiting for the clerk to serve him. And the other guy, aside from the clerk, was a Trump supporter with his Trump shirt and Trump hat on. A hat looked kind of like this right here. I think it was a black hat with the same lettering. But anyway, the guy behind the counter was getting triggered at him because of his Trump attire. It got so bad that he started screeching, literally. You know how guys on the internet, they'll say, you know, stop screeching, you're screeching. This dude was screeching top of his lungs. It was crazy. It was like he was getting stabbed by some inmates in the penitentiary. Screeching. Then it was one more with this trans woman who looked like, you know, Triple H minus about 50 pounds. with the Britney Spears fangirl outfit on. This guy was throwing a straight fit in the GameStop. And the reason why I think it's due to Trump derangement syndrome is because he was talking about, I'm going to tell the whole LGBT community on you. You're going to lose money. This is part of this whole thing. TDS has many forms. Okay. You got the screeching vape guy. You got the brolic, brutish trans person. You have the media. Oh man, the media's got it real bad. Jim Acosta, CNN in general, constant fake stories. And the thing about it, it's funny to see these people kind of melt down, but at the same time, it's not funny because what they do, especially the media, they influence. It's like they spread the virus. Okay. If you had a visual map of where the virus emanates from, it'd be from these big media centers. It'd be a big, gigantic red X on the whole Washington, D.C. It's so much hateful rhetoric coming from television, social media, movies, everywhere. Matter of fact, I was watching Madam Secretary one time by accident. You know, we're watching Jeopardy. It goes off. And here's this TV show. I'm like, what's this? I only know what this is. I only watch TV, so I only know what's going on. But from the very beginning, I saw what was going on. So I'm like, okay, let's stick around and see what's happening. They showed what was like a recreation of, or I must say recreation. I'll say it was a representation of a scene where people will come to the border and get picked up by the Border Patrol. They were trying to talk about how they were deceptive, not letting people see their kids and all kind of stuff. And, you know, it was really, really, really weird, but not weird. It was not weird because this is what the media does. They're hand in hand with entertainment. And they push this narrative to feed people. It's like if you are just caught up in this matrix of watching television, watching liberal media, you'll believe whatever you are being told by that matrix. It's like being caught in a net and you can't see anything else outside of it. You're in this bubble, you're in the net, and all you see is that, so it's all you believe. So then when somebody comes into your space and breaks through that bubble, breaks through that net, and says, "Make America Great Again, Merry Christmas, God bless America," it's going to trigger you to the max because you've been told for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, days and days and days and days, months, years, that Trump is racist, Trump is bad, Orange Man bad. Your programming is effective. Your programming is complete. TDS, I think, is something that is a bioweapon that was created by the media to get more people liberal, or at least to get them angry so they go out there and do the liberals' bidding. It's a really deep game, but TDS is really real. If you got friends that's talking about Trump negatively on their Facebook page, go check on them. Go check on them, man, because it might not be a good thing. They might go out there and you might see them next time butt naked on CNN or something like that, talking about how bad Trump is. And what's up with all these feminists getting naked and showing their armpits and stuff like that because of patriarchy and being against Trump? It's like people have gone mad as it relates to this. And I'm glad I'm on the other side and not the side of the lunatics. I think the average person, every day, working regular, is not even worried about politics. They're just trying to go from A to B, you know, eat, play with their kids, go somewhere with their wife, their husband, date, go to school, and that's it. Really basic, everyday human things. But you get a lot of folks that are really invested into their phones and into politics and stuff like that. TDS, man, it's a real risk. So I don't know what you can do, man. I think the best thing for all of us to do as conservatives, as I close here, is to just put energy out there that's positive. Put the real news out there. That's why I like talking about CNN, talking about NBC, ABC, because I see what they do and I have to observe it to give my own 2 cents on it, because if I don't, it'll just go totally unchecked and nobody will really care about it one way or the other. So I think I wrap it up right there. Thank y'all for watching. 2018 has really been, how can I put it? 2018 has been really, really eventful, to say the least. I look forward to an even more eventful 2019. There's a lot of stuff coming up. There are some things that I missed this year that I could have attended, but I didn't. There was a chance for me to go to Russia at the end of 2018. I couldn't make it. And the same thing with a Turning Point USA event called the Student Action Summit, but they will both be going on next year. And I will be there. I think they're both going to be in December. I'll be at both. And we got a lot of stuff coming up with YBLS, Blexit. That's not a dead movement. We're going to be doing a lot more with that coming up. I got my own stuff coming up, more interviews, more frequent videos on the gaming channel, especially movie reviews, live gameplay, all that stuff. I have a good schedule I'm working on right now to get out good content, and I'm doing it okay right now, but all I got to do is just turn it up a notch and keep putting, and I'll be just fine. So that's pretty much all I got. I know I missed some stories. I know there's some things, some memes I missed. It's been some crazy memes, some crazy themes, dances, songs, phrases. You guys, tell me what you thought I missed in this particular wrap up. Any kind of particular meme, phrase, big event. Oh, the yellow vest. You know, I don't know a lot about that, honestly, but I know it's a really big movement. The whole European region just going through kind of a transformation right now. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully we have yellow vests to not only just be a France thing, but be an entire Western Europe thing. And even if you see less of the actual vests out there in the streets, hopefully the sentiment of nationalism and the sentiment of sovereignty as a nation still remains the same and does not get changed because there's less yellow vests visible. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what I missed. Let me know what you don't want to see in 2019 that you saw in 2018. What should be quote unquote canceled? What should happen in 2019? The wall needs to be built or at least decided upon. We need to get, we're going to have the new candidate or the presumptive candidate for 2019 coming up pretty soon on the Democrat side. Who is that going to be? Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Oprah? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this podcast. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace. And also, join the website, anthonyblogan.com. That is ANTHONY, the letter B, LOGAN. Everything's on there, on social media, my PayPal, Patreon, everything. If it's not there, it's in the box. Also, go to my contact page and I have an email right there. Also, a snail mail address. You can send me whatever you want. Don't send me nothing crazy. And that'll pretty much be it. See y'all next time.